What if Mai Valentine had an Egyptian past? Mai Valentine is a character similar to Joey Wheeler in regards to having incredible amounts of dueling skill. However, also in that neither possess a connection to ancient Egypt. But what if she did? What if Mai Valentine had an ancient Egyptian counterpart? But before I dive in, make sure you hit like and hit that subscribe button because we are so close to
2,000 subscribers.
Okay then, first things first, we would need to strip Mai of her surname Valentine, because I don't think characters in the ancient past had surnames, and certainly not those like that. If you disagree, comment down below and prove me wrong.
Go f*** yourself!
I'm getting so many mixed messages from this bird.
So Mai, in my opinion, would be part of one of the noble families living in a big house with lots of servants attending to her every need. Mai wouldn't have much responsibility, as her name and status would take care of most of her needs. This is something that is also true for present-day Mai.
Why do I duel? For all the comforts that I crave. Designer clothes, travel perks, anything to avoid real work. Hot cars, turbocharged for living large.
However, even though Mai was living a life of luxury, she secretly always had a little itch in the back of her mind of wanting to prove herself. She'd always felt like she was undeserving of the luxurious life she lived, as it was passed on to her from her mother. Living the kind of life she did, she was always surrounded by many people. However, she often felt alone deep in her heart, as many of the people who surrounded her were either paid to do so, or there to curry favour with her family. Her mother was the last one who truly cared for her, and when she passed, it left an empty hole in her heart. This was until the annual tournament was hosted by the High Court of the Pharaoh, and ran by one of the guardians called Seto. The winner would be allowed the honour of challenging a guardian for their position. This was implemented by Seto, as he realised that due to the peace in the kingdom, many people had stopped training and grown complacent. Only the nobles and the guardians of the pharaoh were invited, as only they had access to the Ba, being the strength of their soul, strong enough to materialise their Ka, the monster which resides in the soul. To become one of the noble families, you are tested by going through the Millennium Trial, and if you pass, you must swear loyalty and take an oath of allegiance to protect the pharaoh, a pledge which was taken by Mai's great ancestors and something she had taken too as a child. Her legacy was within the Harpy Lady, an ancient creature passed on to her by her mother, and to her mother from her grandmother before her.
The Harpy's Lady.
Over the years, Mai's family had amassed quite a collection of rare and powerful creatures sealed away in tablets in a shrine. However, the monster within their souls had never changed as the generations went on, only stronger adaptations of the Harpy Lady, depending on the user's bar. During her childhood, Mai lived an easy life, as Atem's father, Akhnam Kanon, had brought about a generation of peace with the Millennium items, which meant no other kingdoms dared to attack them, as they would be obliterated.
In the name of Egypt, Millennium items activate now! Mighty spirits, protect our kingdom!
Due to this, Mai had never had to deal with the hardship her mother had endured, meaning her Ka never had the training to become a great monster. You see, the more your Ka enters combat, the stronger it gets. Regardless, Mai was excited to enter the tournament, as she saw this as the perfect opportunity to prove herself to the pharaoh and people, to finally put some respect on her name. As she entered the stadium, she was given a Dionkidonk, an ancient jewel disc which only the guardians of the pharaoh were allowed to have at all times. It allowed the user to channel the ability to summon their creatures. Mai had obviously had experience in dueling as she was taught as a child by her mother. However, the last time she had dueled someone was a very long time ago. The contestants were lined up. Similar to her, they were wearing fancy clothes. They oozed the air of pampered nobles. Seto, along with Mahad and Shadar, approached the group. Seto asked Shadar to use his Millennium Key to assess the strength of the contestants, however, was disappointed to find that no one really stood out to him as being out of the ordinary. Seto gave them a look of disappointment and told them how pathetic they were, as the once powerful noble families had come to this sorry state. This lit a fire under Mai. She didn't expect to be looked down upon, and that was one of the very reasons she entered the tournament in the first place. It was quite visible that Mai was doing her best to contain herself, and not to interrupt Seto.
How dare you try and judge me? Who do you think you are, you pathetic little snot?
Mai's first few matches were quite easy for her. She relied heavily on the fact that her car, the Harpy Lady, was a superior creature, capable of taking flight and doing incredible damage with her razor-sharp talons. Similar to the Duelist Kingdom, Mai, when she used the scented card tricks to win her duels, she relied heavily on external factors, in this case resorting to using the overwhelming natural strength of her Harpy Lady. This was until she reached the finals, and faced an opponent from the Ishtar family bloodline. Now this was an incredibly difficult opponent for her. You see, the Ishtar family are powerful. They have dedicated themselves to the pharaoh for many generations, even having one of them serve as one of the guardians protecting the pharaoh, Isis, the holder of the Millennium Necklace. Mai's opponent was Isis's little brother, Manar. He was younger than Mai, but there was a lot of experience in his eyes. As their battle began, Manar wasted no time in summoning Yugioh, a vicious fiend monster. Mai responded by summoning her Harpy Lady. At first, the battle went exactly how she was used to, with the Harpy Lady dominating from the skies. However, Manar closed his eyes and started to concentrate, and Yugioh began to grow bigger. He was feeding his monster with more energy from his soul, increasing its power. This was something Mai had never done before. Yugioh, with newfound power, managed to injure the Harpy Lady, dealing drastic amounts of damage to Mai. As this was a shadow game, the damage dealt to her came in the form of immense pain to her very soul. She clutched her chest and fell to her knees. Mai, however, wasn't done. She also still had an ace up her sleeve, the ability to summon 3 monsters at the same time. This would mean that she had to dedicate her energy to 3 monsters instead of 1, which naturally made the Harpy Lady weaker. However, the monsters she summoned were 2 other Harpy Lady monsters, creating the Harpy Lady Sisters, a combination which was incredibly powerful. Summoning 3 monsters which are able to coordinate their attacks from the sky was incredibly resourceful. The caveat being that all 3 Harpy Ladies were weaker due to Mai not having trained her bar to the level where she could maintain 3 fully powered Harpies. This impressed Seto, as summoning more than 1 creature is a feat not many are capable, apart from the Guardians themselves, of course. With 3 Harpies now in play, Mai was able to slowly increase their agility and power in order to suppress the big bulky Yugioh, which couldn't handle assaults from all 3 angles. Eventually, Manar could no longer handle the constant barrage, and eventually fell to his knees. His Yugioh disappeared. Manar had lost the duel. It was only after the duel was over that Mai realised just quite how taxing the duel had been, as she felt her life force being almost completely drained. After Mai had rested, she was told that she had been invited to the pharaoh's private court. Immediately her mind went to what she would wear for the occasion, fantasizing about the new dress she would get tailored for her first invite to the palace. However, her dreams were short-lived, as she was instructed to wear her battle clothes. When she walked into the court of the pharaoh, the 6 guardians stood with the millennium items at the ready, with the pharaoh Atem sat in the middle on his large golden throne. Atem welcomed Mai to the throne, where Mai instantly bowed in his presence. It was here she learnt that she had been called in for a millennium trial. However, since her car had already proved itself in the tournament, the trial went to the final stage, in which she was presented each of the millennium items, one after another. However, each item had no reaction to Mai, which didn't surprise her. And yet there was one that did. But it wasn't a part of the 6 items held by the Guardians. It was actually the one hanging around the pharaoh's neck. The Millennium Puzzle. The Guardians seemed shocked at what had happened. And yet Atem smiled and said, "It seems the puzzle is reacting to a deep desire within you. My puzzle has the ability to make your wishes come true, Mai. However, you must beat me in a duel." Seto protested. However, Atem reminded Seto of the same rule he had created where the winner of the tournament had the power to challenge anyone they wanted. And he was no exception. With that, Atem extended his Yugioh and prepared for a duel. Mai seemed just as shocked as the Guardians, however slowly rose to her feet, and with a small smile, accepted the challenge. Mai summoned her Harpy Ladies, whereas Atem summoned the Kuriboh, a confident smile on his face. Let me know what you think happens next down in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go check out my video, What if Joey Wheeler had an Egyptian past? Thanks for watching, until next time.